You have to cooperate with spiritual laws. And one of the spiritual laws is that if you don't work, you don't eat. It says in Deuteronomy 28 that God will bless the work of your hand. If you don't set your hand unto anything, God can't bless it. 100 times 0 is 0. Mm-hmm. And because I wasn't working, we struggled financially. And I had to have a miracle to live because I wasn't cooperating in the blessing. I wasn't cooperating with spiritual and natural laws. And so I had to have a miracle, something that superseded natural laws. And because God loved me and God was patient with me, I mean, we had miracle after miracle after miracle. I actually had my car run out of gas. I was headed to Christ for the Nations Institute to hear a preacher preach on prosperity. That was ironic. And I was so poor that we didn't have enough gas, and I ran out of gas on the way there. And I mean, we were desperate, and we didn't have any alternative. When I say I didn't have any money, it's not like we had a credit card. There was zero credit card. There was no bank account. I didn't have any way to get any money. And I mean, literally, we laid hands on our car, and we drove that car for nearly a week after it had run out of gas. Wow. And that was a miracle. That is not normal, but it worked. That same car, I didn't have enough money to put antifreeze in it. And so the block cracked, and you could see the crack in the block, and the water leaked out of that engine. And yet we didn't have any alternative. And man, I just laid hands on it, and I drove that car for nearly a year with a cracked block. I saw miracle after miracle. We didn't have food, and we would hear the doorbell ring. We'd go to the doorbell, and there'd be a sack full of groceries. And I mean, nobody had time to run away, and yet I couldn't see anybody. I don't know how it got there. You know, it was a miracle. It was just I didn't minister to people. It wasn't because I was touching their lives and therefore I was receiving back seed that I'd sown. It was God would just miraculously send us supply. And even though that was exciting in a way, and it was wonderful, I remember many years later, I was driving here in Colorado, and I was praying as I was driving, and I was thinking, Lord, I used to have to have a miracle every day in order to eat. I was thinking about the times that my car ran without gas in it, and that, you know, the block was cracked, and I still was able to drive it. And I said, I hadn't seen miracles like that in decades. And I was beginning to feel like, is something wrong? Am I not, operating in faith the way I was then? And as I was meditating on this, the Lord just spoke to me, and he says, would you like to go back to those days where you don't have enough gas and you have to run the car on empty? Do you want to go back to the days that if you have something wrong with your car that you have to lay hands on it and pray? Do you want to go back to the days where you have the doorbell ring and food just appears? And I said, no, sir, I don't. And I began to see that now I'm not operating in the miracle anymore. I've learned some natural and spiritual laws, and I'm prosperous now to the point that if I want to eat, I can go get anything I want to eat. If my car needs gas, I can put gas in it. If my car is broken, I can go get it fixed, or I can get me a new car. See, that's the difference between a miracle and a blessing. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll just say this, and then I'll come back and explain it later. But a miracle will never be as an abundant as a blessing. A miracle is only temporary, and a miracle demands that you have a crisis before you can have a miracle, whereas a blessing will prevent a crisis. Well, that